Hello, and we have a crypto exec predicting the next Black Swan event. That's right, can you guess who it is? It's our favorite Ripple exec, Brad Garlinghouse. That's correct. And the next Black Swan event is, as he says, Tether. Now, there's obviously a couple of reasons he said this. One, obviously, because Ripple just debuted their own stablecoin, and maybe since his stablecoin, according to him, suits all the regulations, he actually thinks if Tether falls, his stablecoin will take over. But there's a problem with that because besides USDT, there's still USDC. And if USDT falls in the United States, obviously USDC is going to take over. The other thing is Tether has actually been audited multiple times, and all their reserves are at 100%, and they've been found to have like either cash or mostly cash equivalents or even treasuries in their bonds. So they are fully backed. And the government's actually tried to pwn them a few times and has actually failed. I think the worst case scenario is something like Binance, but Tether will still continue to survive. And remember, even if they get booted out of the US, which I don't think they will because they are actually cooperating with the United States in a lot of their, I guess, like sting operations for bad crypto investors and crime. So I think they're kind of like partnered with the US government at this point in those things. So I don't think the US government's going to destroy them or anything. Even if they get kicked out, USDC is with Circle and Goldman Sachs, and that's well entrenched in the United States. So if that's the plan, I doubt it'll work. He actually thinks it's obvious the government's going after Tether. The DOJ has been somewhat pointing in that direction. I'm not exactly sure. Brad Garlinghouse said it could be like an FTX-like event. I highly doubt it because like the US government's tried to get over Tether before. Now they're kind of like working together. And maybe Gary Gensler will actually sue Tether sooner or later. I don't really know, but there's still USDC in the wings. And let's be honest, Gensler's lawsuits have not really been working out all that well for him. And I do think Tether's going to have several protectors. Plus, they do actually have US Treasury bonds as part of their backing. And I don't really think the US government wants Tether to actually liquidate those in quick fashion. So it might be a while before Gensler and co. or any administration gets to Tether, if ever. And like I said, I do think Tether is actually supporting the US in its, I guess, like anti-money laundering operation. So, like, if this is some kind of grand plan to take over the stablecoin universe with his XRP or a Ledger coin or stablecoin or something like that, with a Ripple stablecoin, don't really think it's going to work all that well. Actually, I don't think it's going to work at all. It's probably going to end up like a lot of those other small company stablecoins that don't really get used in the general market. Yes, I do believe Ripple is actually introducing the stablecoin to potentially replace XRP and ODL, as they've already been forced to in the United States. And it does seem like banks just rather use a stablecoin for that purpose, for cross-border transfers, than use a market-driven priced coin. So that's there. But, you know, I think people have been talking about, not just Garlinghouse, but other people have been talking about Tether forever. There's been several scares. I reported on it several times. And every time it's basically ended up being essentially a nothing burger at all. Because the two times that it was kind of serious was when Tether was attempted to be redeemed out, but I think it was like the government behind it. I can't really prove it or anything, but people seem to redeem out like $20 billion, and their reserve easily had that much and much more to spare. So once like they opened up completely for redemptions and people saw that like they weren't sweating on the redemptions, people kind of backed off and were like, hey, you know what? They are actually fully backed. We're fine with Tether. So after that debacle, which the government might have tried to kill Tether that way, don't really think they plan to do anything else against them because it would just make them look very, very foolish. So I don't think this Black Swan event's going to happen, but it is sort of out there. And Tether is that thing that provides so much liquidity that if they took out the support and they took out USDC, as well as every other stablecoin, the market would actually fall. And yes, even though the US government, it looks to be determined to basically control the entire market within their area. I think Tether is actually playing ball with them, and since Tether is actually playing ball with them and giving them all the required KYC, AML, and all the information, I think the U.S. government is willing to actually play ball with Tether as well. That's why they haven't quite gone after them yet, and that's why, like, their past attempts to actually take them out have not worked. So it might just be too much trouble for them to try to attempt it again. Because, like hopping between jurisdictions, I don't actually think it's going to be the case. And with the elections coming up, I'm not really sure if they really have time to mess with that stuff. Gensler has hands are full already with other lawsuits, and I'm not really sure if he wants to tackle Bitfinex and Tether, because they're obviously very well funded and they will honestly be able to fight back very, very well as well. Tether makes billions of dollars per year. So there's no doubt that they actually have the funds to fight the SEC. And I think it's going to be very hard to try to gauge any stable coin as a security, because there is no expectation of profit when you actually go and buy a stable coin. So that prong of the Howey test is actually hard to solve for the SEC. I'm not really sure if they're going to have jurisdiction over Tether. And plus, Congress is in the works with a stablecoin bill as well, which is probably going to get passed. It's supported bipartisan. So there's a lot of reasons why the SEC wouldn't go after Tether, but Garlinghouse is saying that it's the obvious next Black Swan event, and we'll have to see if he's correct or not.